Mrs. Trump, is that really you? Jacob's voice trembled as he sat upright in his hospital bed. For weeks, this room had been his world, a sterile, white-walled sanctuary that shielded him from the chaos of his life outside. Now, standing before him was a figure so elegant and composed that she seemed out of place in the small, brightly lit room. Melania Trump smiled gently, her presence commanding yet calming, as she stepped closer to Jacob's bed. She carried a neatly wrapped gift, the red bow atop it catching the light. Her heels clicked softly against the linoleum floor, each step measured and deliberate, as if she understood the gravity of this moment. Jacob's mother, frozen in shock, stood by the window, her hand covering her mouth as tears welled in her eyes. "Yes, Jacob," Melania said softly, her Slovenian accent lending a melodic warmth to her words. "I heard your story, and I wanted to meet you. You are a very brave boy." Jacob blinked, unsure if this was real. For weeks he had felt invisible, lost in a sea of doctors, nurses, and procedures that left him feeling more like a number than a person. Now, someone he had seen on television, someone who had stood beside the President of the United States, was here for him. "You came just to see me." His small voice cracked with disbelief. "Of course," Melania said, lowering herself into a chair beside the bed. "How could I not? A hero like you deserves to be celebrated." Jacob's wide eyes darted to the gift she had placed on his blanket. His fingers, scarred and stiff, hesitated for a moment before reaching for the red bow. He worked carefully, as if the package contained something too precious to handle carelessly. The wrapping paper fell away, revealing a custom teddy bear dressed as a firefighter. Its miniature helmet bore the words "Hero Squad," and the uniform was complete with tiny patches and reflective stripes. It's a firefighter!" Jacob exclaimed, his voice rising with excitement. For the first time in weeks, his face lit up with genuine joy. He clutched the bear tightly against his chest, its softness offering a comfort he hadn't realized he needed. "I thought you might like it," Melania said, her smile growing as she saw the spark of life return to the boy's eyes. "I heard you want to be a firefighter like your father." Jacob nodded quickly, but then his smile faded. His gaze dropped to his lap, where his scarred hands rested. Do you think I can still be a firefighter, even with my scars?" Melania's expression softened. She leaned forward, her hands resting gently on the edge of the bed. "Jacob, your scars tell a story about your bravery, about how strong and courageous you are. They show the world how much love you have in your heart. Scars do not make you less. They make you more." Jacob's mother stifled a sob, her shoulders shaking as she turned away. She had spent countless nights trying to comfort her son, trying to convince him that he was still whole, still capable of achieving his dreams. But her words had always seemed to fall short. Now, as she watched her son clutch the teddy bear and look into Melania's eyes, she saw something shift in him, a flicker of belief. "You really think so?" Jacob asked, his voice trembling. Melania nodded firmly. "I know so. You are already a hero, Jacob. Never let anyone tell you otherwise." Tears welled in Jacob's eyes, but this time they weren't tears of pain or sadness. They were tears of hope, of gratitude. He hugged the teddy bear tighter and whispered, "Thank you, Mrs. Trump. I'll never let go of this." Melania stayed with Jacob for over an hour, asking him about his favorite cartoons, his favorite books, and his dreams for the future. She listened intently, laughing softly when he told her about his plans to invent a fire truck that could fly. When it was time to leave, she stood and placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "This is not goodbye," she said, her voice filled with certainty. "It is just the beginning." As Melania walked out of the hospital room, Jacob's mother felt a weight lift from her chest. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to believe that her son could heal not just physically, but emotionally. That night, as Jacob fell asleep clutching his firefighter teddy bear, his mother sat by his side, watching him breathe peacefully. She silently thanked the woman who had brought light into their darkest days. Jacob's journey to that hospital room had been nothing short of harrowing. Just a few months earlier, he had been a vibrant, energetic boy with big dreams and an even bigger heart. He adored fire trucks, superheroes, and everything about his father's job as a firefighter. His laughter could fill a room, and his boundless curiosity kept his parents on their toes. But everything changed on the night of his 8th birthday. The evening had been filled with joy and celebration. The smell of chocolate cake lingered in the air, and balloons bobbed gently against the ceiling as Jacob's family gathered to sing him happy birthday. Jacob had gone to bed that night clutching his little sister Lily's favorite stuffed bunny, promising to keep it safe for her. In the early hours of the morning, the crackling began. It was faint at first, almost imperceptible, but it quickly grew louder as flames erupted from a faulty electrical outlet in the living room. The fire spread with terrifying speed, consuming furniture and climbing the walls. By the time the family woke, thick black smoke had filled the house. Jacob's father, a seasoned firefighter, acted immediately. He guided his wife and Lily to safety, but when he turned back, he saw Jacob at the top of the stairs, frozen in place. Flames licked at the walls around him, casting flickering shadows on his small frame. "Jacob, come deep." "Own!" his father shouted, panic rising in his voice. "I'm coming!" Jacob called back, clutching the stuffed bunny tightly. But as he stepped forward, part of the ceiling collapsed. Sparks and embers rained down, and the boy instinctively shielded his face with his arms. He dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the flames, but not escaping unscathed. When his father finally reached him, Jacob was barely conscious. His arms and face bore the brunt of the burns, and his body was weak from inhaling smoke. As firefighters worked to extinguish the blaze, Jacob's family stood outside, their hearts heavy with worry. The days that followed were a blur of surgeries, treatments, and overwhelming pain. Jacob's physical wounds were severe, but the emotional toll was just as profound. Once a boy who dreamed of becoming a firefighter, he now avoided mirrors, unable to look at his reflection without breaking into tears. He stopped talking about fire trucks, stopped laughing, and stopped believing in the future he had once envisioned. His parents did everything they could to lift his spirits. His father brought home books about firefighting, and his mother read him bedtime stories filled with brave heroes. But nothing seemed to reach him. Jacob remained withdrawn, his bright personality dimmed by the weight of his trauma. It was during this time that Jacob's story began to spread. Local news stations picked up on the fundraiser organized by his father's fellow firefighters, sharing the tale of the brave boy who had risked his life to save his sister's beloved toy. The story touched the hearts of thousands, eventually reaching Melania Trump. When Melania walked into Jacob's hospital room, she brought more than just a gift. She brought a sense of hope that Jacob hadn't felt in months. Her words, her kindness, and the firefighter teddy bear she gave him planted a seed of belief in his heart. For the first time since the fire, Jacob began to think that maybe his scars didn't make him less. Maybe they made him more. A week after Melania's visit, Jacob sat by the window in his hospital room, holding the firefighter teddy bear tightly in his hands. For the first time since the fire, he felt a flicker of excitement, a faint but growing spark of hope. His mother had just told him about a phone call from the local fire department. They wanted to arrange something special for him, and although she hadn't shared all the details, Jacob could sense that it was going to be something unforgettable. On the morning of the surprise, the sound of a fire truck siren echoed down Jacob's street. He rushed to the window, his scarred hands gripping the frame as he stared in awe. The bright red truck, its lights flashing, rolled to a stop outside his home. Firefighters in full uniform climbed out, one of them holding a small bag and another carrying what looked like a child-sized firefighter uniform. Jacob's mother opened the front door, greeting the firefighters with a mixture of gratitude and amazement. "He's been looking forward to this all week," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Thank you for doing this." When Jacob was helped into his wheelchair and brought to the door, his jaw dropped. "Is this for me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of course it is," said one of the firefighters, a tall man with kind eyes. "We heard you're one of the bravest kids out there, so we thought we'd give you the VIP treatment today." Jacob's eyes lit up as they handed him the miniature firefighter uniform, complete with his name embroidered on the chest. His mother helped him put it on, and for a moment, he stood taller, his chest puffed out with pride. The firefighters helped him into the fire truck's front seat, and as they turned on the sirens, Jacob laughed a pure, joyous sound that hadn't been heard in months. The fire truck ride to the station felt like a dream. Jacob's small hands gripped the steering wheel, as the driver let him pretend he was navigating through the streets. Neighbors waved as the truck passed by, and Jacob felt, for the first time since the fire, like he was part of something bigger than himself. When they arrived at the station, Jacob's excitement grew. The firefighters had set up an entire day just for him. They gave him a tour of the station, showing him the equipment, the trucks, and even the sleeping quarters. They let him operate the hose, spraying water at a target they had set up in the training yard. Jacob giggled as the powerful stream of water soaked the target, earning cheers from the firefighters. But the biggest surprise came when the station chief knelt before him, holding a certificate in his hands. "Jacob," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "We've heard about your courage, how you saved your little sister's stuffed bunny, and faced incredible challenges with bravery. Today, we're making you an honorary firefighter." Jacob's eyes filled with tears as he accepted the certificate. The words, "honorary firefighter," were printed in bold letters, and below them was his name. The chief handed him a custom firefighter helmet, its shiny surface engraved with his initials. "You're one of us now," the chief said, placing the helmet gently on Jacob's head. "And don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Jacob turned to his mother, who was wiping tears from her cheeks. "Mom," he said, his voice trembling, "I'm a firefighter." "Yes, you are," she replied, her smile radiant through her tears. "And I've never been prouder." The day at the station was filled with moments Jacob would never forget. The firefighters treated him like family, and for the first time in a long time, Jacob felt like his scars didn't matter. He felt strong, capable, and valued, feelings he hadn't experienced since the fire. Later that evening, as Jacob sat at home admiring his helmet and certificate, a package arrived. Inside was a framed certificate signed by Melania Trump, officially recognizing him as an honorary firefighter. Alongside it was a handwritten note that read, "Dear Jacob, your courage continues to inspire us all. Never forget that you are a hero in every sense of the word. Keep dreaming big, and remember that your future is as bright as your spirit. With love, Melania Trump." Jacob hung the certificate on the wall beside his bed, where it became a daily reminder of his strength. It was more than just a piece of paper. It was a symbol of the belief that others had in him, a belief that he had slowly begun to feel for himself. As the weeks turned into months, Jacob's story continued to spread. News outlets picked up on the incredible bond between the boy and the firefighters, who had embraced him as one of their own. People from all over the world reached out to share their own stories of resilience, inspired by Jacob's courage and determination. Melania Trump stayed in touch with Jacob and his family, quietly supporting them as Jacob navigated his recovery. She arranged for him to attend a gala in Washington, D.C., where he was the guest of honor. The event raised funds for children recovering from burns and other life-changing injuries, and Jacob's story was the centerpiece of the evening. Dressed in a tiny tuxedo, Jacob took the stage alongside Melania. With the microphone in his hand and the spotlight on him, he looked out at the crowd and said, "I thought my scars would hold me back, but now I know they make me strong, and I want to use that strength to help others." The audience erupted in applause, many wiping away tears. Melania knelt beside Jacob and whispered, "You've made me so proud. You are a hero, Jacob." Years later, Jacob fulfilled his dream of becoming a firefighter. He wore his scars with pride, viewing them as badges of honor that told the story of his journey from tragedy to triumph. His life became a testament to the power of kindness, hope, and the belief that even the darkest moments can lead to brighter days. And it all began with the visit of one extraordinary woman who saw the hero in him when he couldn't yet see it in himself.